Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is October 25th, and we're doing business and social stories to get over your hump day.
And it's a tough one. It's a big hump.
It's a lot of sad.
If you work for any number of tech companies this week, because oh boy, have they been cutting.
Nokia to axe up to 14,000 jobs to cut costs.
It's a big number.
This is unfortunate because Nokia is actually entering a whole new world in terms of providing infrastructure services. Nokia has actually got some really inexpensive long haul 10 and 25 gigabit infrastructure. So if you're looking to upgrade your home internet to something beyond a gigabit, chances are it's going to be on Nokia infrastructure. And now this.
Well, we're going to keep those costs down. I'm sure there's some AI stepping in somewhere. And more merger and acquisitions, which were probably, I wasn't following this one that closely, but there was probably a promise somewhere. It was like,
We'll keep those jobs.
Jobs won't be affected. Spoiler alert.
Tech layoffs. Oakland's Bandcamp slashes nearly half of its staff after Epic sale. So Epic bought Bandcamp, I guess, and then sold it to some other company. And as part of the sale, half of the Bandcamp staff did not go with Bandcamp. Well, they're not going with Epic either.
Song Trader.
Oh,
I think it's supposed to be trader, but they left out the E's.
that's how you know it's a tech startup, because they just get rid of the E.
And AI, of course, inevitably is destroying jobs after we were told over and over and over
won't happen.
it's not going to happen. Nowhere is that more obvious. And I got to say, I'm guilty here. How often have you gone to this website since ChatGPT? It's better.
The Verge headline is Stack Overflow lays off over 100 people as the AI coding boom continues. Now, Stack Overflow, for their part, they just said, listen, traffic is down and we have to remain solvent as a company. So we have to lay off 28% of our staff because traffic is down. And then the Verge says, why is traffic down? And people are using ChatGPT to ask questions.
Although, how usually we're like, they'll say they cut a certain percent of the company and it's, an insane amount of people. And we're like, why do you need this many people to run Uber? That's actually a pretty small staff. If 100 is that percentage. And here's a company that I don't understand why they need to employ anybody because they have such a
Nobody
terrible
wants
product.
this.
LinkedIn to lay off hundreds of people amid a broader restructuring. See, it's weird though, because they talk about LinkedIn as if it's its own entity here. Whereas, with Epic Games and SongTrader and Bandcamp, it's like, oh, that's Epic. It's like, isn't this Microsoft? Microsoft to lay off a lot of people in the LinkedIn division. Isn't that how that works?
People must still use LinkedIn because, it's still around, but who? No one my age uses LinkedIn as far as I know. You use it briefly when you do a job hunt and then you just don't use it again until the next time.
Well, a lot of people are constantly
Hopping, yeah.
Let's say the younger tech bros for sure.
Oh.
And also Google. And this seems to have been coming for a long time because as we've seen more and more, the news and how it's presented is being very, very protected to favor the incumbent, ancient way of distributing news.
Google cuts dozens of jobs in its news division. This is after failed experiments in Canada and other things that we'll sort of chuckle about. But Google's not really doing a super good job figuring out how to monetize other people's news.
And I can't believe how short of amount of time they waited for this one.
It's like a week.
Guys, could you not wait till just the next calendar year?
Can this be Exhibit A in last week's trial? I mean,
I guess once you
They
get
haven't
away
even
with
finished
it.
all the paperwork yet. The ink is still not dry.
Yeah, we got away with the crime, so let's immediately begin enjoying the fruits of our labor.
Microsoft raises the price of Halo games in several Steam regions. Activision games price also increased. Dun, 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 dun.
Every time there's a merger, it's always, we're not going to fire people and we're not going to raise prices. And as soon as it happens,
Yeah.
they fire people and they raise prices.
Listen, I got some bad news, though. They never really quite figured out Halo multiplayer and Halo Infinite, which is a real tragedy because, Halo Infinite single player was a genuinely very fun game.
Was that the last one?
Yeah.
That was on Game Pass and I actually checked it out. I thought, yeah, this is pretty good.
I really thought there was a certain magic in Unreal Tournament 2003 or 4 with the vehicles and the capture the flag thing. And I get twinges of that,
That excitement.
that excitement playing single player with the vehicles and stuff. And I was like, oh man, they're going to do this for multiplayer. It's going to be capture the flag. You're going to have all these little different vehicles from the big tank to the little hovercraft. And I'm going to relive the magic. That did not happen.
See, I'm afraid that some of that was not so much the industry changing, it was just your ability to play first person shooters. Because I feel like BattleBit is really good, but I can't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Really?
I can't.
I think it's fun even if you're not like going out on kill streaks or anything.
I can't. I get like 2-3 kills a game, and I'm healing people, but that's not as exciting.
There's not enough attention deficit drugs in the world to make me have a faster reaction time than I need.
Elon Musk says, "Hold my Neuralink. I'm gonna bring you back, bro."
That's why you just run in with a mine and place it all over their base and then just, suicide in. Unalive yourself.
That's probably not a good thing to talk about in the current.
In BattleBit.
Well, Binance, we learned that they are not letting the UK customers do certain things because they're facing some serious regulatory scrutiny. But it turns out that's not the only place.
Binance U.S. halts district dollar withdrawals. So yeah, I alluded to this in the government section, or we talked about this a little bit in the government section. But so they're saying now it's like, okay, if we stop trading in the U.S. dollar, maybe the feds will leave us alone. I don't think that's it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for them.
Also, you have to switch to a stable coin. I imagine they hit you with a transaction fee there, right?
Probably.
Conversion. Yeah. So that's just like, hey, give us another transaction fee.
Okay, did you get the impression you could go to like from something to Bitcoin and then get your money that way?
When you had to go from Bitcoin to stable coin and then stable coin to dollars.
Yeah, that's more annoying. If you could go straight to Bitcoin, that would probably be fine. But I guess that's not normalized.
Well, I think you might be able to withdraw Bitcoin. Well, the FTX trial is going on, as we talked about in the last episode, and we're learning a variety of different things, including where all that money went.
FTX execs blew through $8 billion in cash. And testimony reveals how. It's mostly real estate, which, there's still an intrinsic value in that, so nothing of value was lost. But they also lost a ton of money in Genesis and a bunch of other things, but also AI companies. I was very surprised that Anthropic was in here. Anthropic is caught up in this madness.
You're leaving out the political donations.
Oh, yeah, there's political donations.
Which were turbocharged after SBF went to a Christmas party, I think is what it was. And he described this. Now think about this. He described this as the group, a room full of the smartest people he had ever encountered.
Faces at the party included Hillary Clinton, Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jeff Bezos, Kendall and Kris Jenner, and Katie Hudson. Isn't Leonardo DiCaprio one of the ad people?
The Jenners are on there as well.
A regular Algonquin roundtable there, huh? So yeah, that shows you what kind of mental capacity SBF is operating with. He was for sure just a useful idiot. That man is not smart. Last week we had a story and people were like, hey, ISPs, you need to stop lying in your advertising. And they were like, no, bro, we don't want to. That was the government complaining about them, but also some of the industry groups. Now, these are the same industry groups who go to bat for these guys whenever the SEC comes hunting for them. So you can imagine how bad it has to be when that same advocacy group is like, really, Comcast, you have to stop this.
Comcast restricts calls to stop its misleading 10G network claims.
What is 10G? Nothing. It doesn't exist. It's a marketing term.
We're upgrading so you can have 10 gig network at home. No, that's what they want you to think. It is designed to be deliberately misleading because this is the level of unchecked evil that we deal with our internet service providers. A utility company. Can you imagine if the water company was this evil? Oh, we've added a helpful blueberry flavor to your water. Well, I don't want that. Well,
I'm making pasta. I don't need blueberry water.
You can pay $10 to take that out, Krista.
But no.
It's a value add.
Well, Netflix, among all this failure, is actually doing good because they attacked their users and made it worse, and somehow that meant more subscribers. Why? And now they're taking that money and apparently they're just going to set fire to it.
Netflix to open branded retail stores for some reason. They're saying, I love that the article author here is just so incredulous. I love it because you just raised prices, Netflix. What are you doing?
Dining, live events, and even a Squid Game obstacle course.
What are you doing there, buddy? It's like you just no.
Who wants that?
Why are you canceling Netflix? Your retail presence is offensive. That's why I'm canceling Netflix.
So yeah, you can buy just like little promotional items related to the shows that they own. And you can eat meals that are apparently inspired by the shows.
Can you bring back the ones that were canceled because they were crappy because you cut their budget? No.
Go-karts based on The Crown.
We don't have any money for that because we bought this building. And the Cybertruck is long awaited. When was that announced?
Like 2017.
It was early on in the Tesla timeline. And finally, after all this wait, maybe you're going to look to get one in the fall.
Tesla announces Cybertruck deliveries in November and claims a production capacity of 125,000. Musk is also quoted as saying they dug their own grave with regard to promises about how they were going to do things.
I left that story out, but he actually just sat down and talked to everybody, and he was kind of like, every idea that I had about this was wrong. but we're going to sell it anyway.
But my favorite part of that is that he kept referring to it as we. Not I made a mistake. We made a mistake.
I want the crash, the highway safety crash report. I want to know what that looks like.
I'd say it's going to be great for the people inside the truck.
Well, I mean, if they designed all their own stuff, it's probably abysmal. But if it's just a recycled suspension from an 84 Cutlass, then maybe it's not terrible.
Also, they had one of the big things about it. Remember, it was supposed to have the bulletproof glass that he smashed during all that glass and all the external hardening was supposed to be exoskeleton design versus endoskeleton design. But now they have the gigacasting, and the two work completely opposite to one another. So, oops. Good luck enjoying your car. You think you still get it for the price that they quoted to you in 2017?
No. People have already gotten the emails. They're just like, you want to cancel? There's somebody else that wants to take your place.
That's crazy to me.
I look down on people that I see driving Teslas for a variety of reasons. I'm really going to look down on the Cybertruck drivers.
The Cybertruck, I don't even have strong opinions about car aesthetics, not even a little bit. But the Cybertruck is ugly.
Yeah, everything about Tesla's ugly. From their financials to their cars. Moving on to hardware, we have I would say one big announcement and one kind of lukewarm announcement. We'll go with the lukewarm one first.
Intel unveils 14th gen Raptor Lake Refresh CPUs with speeds up to 6 gigahertz. Everybody was expecting Meteor Lake. No one got Meteor Lake. But it's 6 gigahertz out of the box for the top end 14900K. But that's also the least change that we've seen generation on generation for a long time. Can you believe it's been a year since 13th gen is out? And there's really not a dramatic difference between 12th and 13th gen. And now from 13th to 14th gen, it's really just a clock bump.
Certainly not dramatic, but AMD made their own announcement and they went for super drama, even though the prices are also quite dramatic.
AMD's monstrous Threadripper 7000 CPUs aim for desktop PC dominance. How confident are they in their product? The 96-core CPU is going to be $10,000 US.
Whew.
The entry level is going to be $1,300.
In case you needed something to spend money on because you have so much lying around.
I think AMD thinks they're the prettiest girl at the ball. Okay.
I guess. It's a very specific subset of users who need that. But there seems to be a demand. Apparently people were just crying out for desktop Threadripper.
A lot of the demos that I've seen, like the 5000 series Threadripper, is like the James Cameron movie director types. Like, oh, we're rendering Avatar in real time so I can see the effects now. It's like, well, okay. I mean, I guess that's what you could do with 64 cores.
And I imagine he could afford a couple.
Yeah.
Why not fill that market gap? AMD is also, actually all the companies these days are trying to fudge the numbers when it comes to filling in frames with AI or faking it or, doing it in software, all that stuff to make up for the limitations we're hitting for hardware. AMD came up with one that has been somewhat bad for certain players.
AMD effectively unlaunches quote-unquote Anti-Lag Plus technology with new drivers. AMD released a new driver that disabled Anti-Lag Plus in all supported games because players were getting banned in Counter-Strike 2. Now, as of the time we're shooting this, you still face a ban in individual games, but it was so severe you would get banned from Steam entirely. Valve has been rolling that back. But this has got to be embarrassing for AMD, especially after the departure of one of their execs. I think Herkelman is left. And so it's just like, it's got to be a little embarrassing for them.
It directly modifies game DLLs.
Well, that sounds crazy, but that's not actually like drivers do that for just other reasons.
So it's cheating software.
Well, yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of difference between cheating software and GPU driver optimization. Like I'm doing things with runtime binary patching. Both of those things do runtime binary patching. That's unfortunately the world we live in. But they probably should have tested it just a little more.
I don't think we did this last week. I think maybe they were hinting at this last week, but now we see that it has actually come to market.
Qualcomm announces the first ever mass market RISC-V Android system on chip. RISC-V, fast enough to run Android? Just barely.
But it's getting better.
I think Qualcomm and ARM are having a bit of a spat right now. I don't know. Qualcomm's behavior defies explanation in some categories.
And Qualcomm, we learned last week, took a big hit. They are down because people are not buying things. And one of their old customers, they're still an existing customer, aren't they? They haven't gone completely on their own yet. Is maybe one of the big reasons for that, we're learning.
Apple's iPhone loses the top spot in China to Huawei, according to analysts. And it's weird because it's like, oh, there's no iPhone ban. Something happened, and now a lot of people are buying Huawei in China.
Tim Cook screaming, crying, throwing up.
I think probably a lot of it has to do with price because the Chinese people are apparently not doing too well economically.
Same.
I can't afford an iPhone.
Yeah.
And
well, the iPhone here is so crazy that you can get them for free. Like they've never done that, or at least it's very rare that they do that. It's like my mom was able to trade in her iPhone 8 completely for free and get like the newest one. And that has never happened.
Well, when it comes to buying technology, I'm certainly taking a bit of a pause. I would love to refresh my Microsoft Surface, but I'm not spending that kind of money.
PC shipments decline. The decline has slowed in Q3 of 2023, but Apple has plunged over 23%. Execs are a little antsy.
My mom wants an iPad. I'll probably get her one for Christmas. I'm doing my part.
Yeah. I think Dad wants a new iPad as well for Christmas.
Start thinking about Christmas gifts now, chat.
Maybe iPads are where it's all going, and maybe one of the big declines is not coming from overall devices, but just people skipping the PC entirely and going for the tablet.
Top Apple analyst says MacBook demand has fallen significantly. That's MacBook laptops. The analyst attributed it to people buying other things other than computers or tablets,
food,
or
healthcare, shelter. And we have the lithography war. Of course, we're locking China out of the market, but it seems like maybe they figured it out on their own. And it's all this drama. And now Canon has entered into the fray with something entirely. Well, it's actually not entirely new. It just hasn't been realistic up until this point.
Canon prepares a nano imprint lithography tool to challenge EUV scanners. So Canon says this will be good down to like 3 nanometers or 2 nanometers, but this is really an alternative for lithography for mass production. So you could use this and you don't have to do as much work to set it up for your masks for mass production, and it can just go and go and go. So it's like a printer, but not really, for lithography. So this could be good.
More precise because it's not using light to do it, but also more susceptible to contaminants. So like at my house, there'd be way too much cat fur.
It's funny how much cat fur accumulates.
It's shocking. It's shocking how much they generate.
We use like a special air filter thing in our office, and we still vacuum and dust and stuff frequently, and it's still just cat hair everywhere.
Yeah, I bought one of those little handheld shark vacuums. It's like you just have to have that.
Yeah.
To get
to deal with
the
it.
rough spots. And when it comes to making chips, of course, we've got all these bad moves, it seems, that America made to buy these sites and get them running, and then it's just regulatory hell and nothing happens. And maybe we have a startup that's going to solve all those problems.
A New York startup aims to build hundreds of chip factories with prefab parts. So you would assemble the chip factory by buying, one container ship at a time, basically.
So you got like the little control center here, and then you got the 4 leaves that come out of it, and you can, like scale up or down if you need less than 4, and then you can connect another one. It's a franchise model. So you don't ever own your building. You license everything. You pay them fees, and you also pay them part of your profit.
So that's kind of what's happening with the GPU cloud, where the people that make the GPUs just license time in the cloud.
That's also what's happening with gaming world. And we saw where that went recently. They changed the rules later on.
No.
Or quietly just remove the game you paid for.
Fun
And
times.
I wonder if this had something to do with the fact that India suddenly immediately reversed their decision on whether or not to ban laptop imports.
Google to manufacture Pixel smartphones in India.
Look how happy all those people are on that stage.
It's weird that announcement about laptops and the imports for laptops being completely fine is just totally like Chromebooks. You can buy Chromebooks like crazy now. They're not even restricted. It's definitely not a coincidence. Or definitely just a coincidence. I forget.
And if you're shopping for network equipment this holiday season, you're going to have some new buzzwords to watch out for.
Wi-Fi 7, what is it and what do you need? Oh, yes. So with the launch of Intel 14th Gen, there's a whole new bevy of motherboards and Wi-Fi 7 is launching. Wi-Fi 7 is Wi-Fi... That's neat.
Catastrophe.
That's fine.
Wi-Fi 7 is a wider bandwidth, more frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brain just is like,
Yeah.
there was loud sound. I can't think now.
But you can on Wi-Fi 6, you can set your channel width. Like if you go on your access point and you make your channel width 80 megahertz, that's a nice quality of life improvement. If you haven't thought about changing your channel width on your Wi-Fi and all your devices are compatible, I just made your life a lot better. Google it. You'll thank me.
You probably won't find anything useful on Google.
Yeah, you have to talk to ChatGPT about it.
Yeah, or put Reddit at the end of it after you Google search it.
And maybe we won't have to worry about Wi-Fi at all because we're going to have everything in the space shooting down at us with satellites blanketing every part of the night sky. But there's one company who is a bit sad about that.
AT&T moves to disrupt tests of SpaceX's Starlink cellular service.
So
Why? Just mainly because they're
'cause
awful.
it competes with them. So what's happening here is Starlink has a special dispensation of the rules. And they're like, hey, you know, we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And the FCC is like, yeah, but you could probably do that. And AT&T is like, no, you have to fill out the paperwork.
You must stop the march of technology because this threatens our business model.
AT&T is one of the few, like if you're in a really rural area, AT&T is usually pretty consistent, but it's like garbage tier.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of EV manufacturing starting to hit the skids. I don't know if it's just the economics or the reality of the situation setting in.
GM has delayed its EV truck production at the Michigan plant by a year. This might be because people are not buying vehicles in general.
Might be because new vehicles are now $100,000.
But all those holiday commercials with the giant red bow on the truck told me that everyone buys cars for Christmas.
Yeah. You know anybody that's ever gotten a car with a bow on it?
No.
Engagement challenge.
Well, one thing about modern cars, because they are so expensive to buy new, you might want to keep yours running and you might want to, you know, like invest in it, make it as cool as you can. And some of the new ones have interesting systems that you can interact with and, you know, do fun things with until they find out about it and destroy it.
Mazda's DMCA takedown kills a hobbyist smart car API tool. How dare you remote control a car? So yeah, they said, oh, this is our proprietary stuff that you're using. We sell an app that lets you control your car remotely. You're infringing on our copyrights. This should be like, this is one of those things where it's like, we need to form a consortium and take money from individuals and then just sue Mazda into oblivion for this. This is not illegal. This is ridiculous. It's like, oh, they're violating your copyright. Yeah, you have to have a Mazda. You have to own a Mazda in order to do this. This is nonsense.
So they looked through the code this guy was using. They didn't find any copyright. Some other researchers looked at it and they were like, I don't see anything bad here. But the guy was like, listen, I do this for a hobby. I don't sell it. I don't need this headache.
Yeah.
I'm just done with it. And Mazda knew that was going to be the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were doing, and they weren't even doing anything weird. Like they weren't even getting around, you know, the heated seat subscription or anything like that. He was just, look, you could monitor if it was an EV, it could monitor the battery level. It could like only charge, because some people have those rolling prices. So it would only charge when the prices were lowest.
Yeah. And it was built into Home Assistant. How cool is that?
Yeah. Or like when he started it in the morning, if it was low on fuel, it would let him know before he went to the garage. It was like, hey.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was nice.
Shouldn't they just hire that guy? Because it sounds like he has a lot of good quality of life improvements.
Yeah.
Well, they would never give the customer that level of control.
Death penalty for Mazda as a company. They need to cease to exist. That is uncalled for.
Well, Krista, your dream of van life may have just gotten a huge boost if this thing is actually what they claim it is. And I don't know if we have any third-party confirmations here. It also is very light, so I guess once you started living in it, you'd add too much weight.
Yeah.
But perhaps a stepping stone.
World's first off-road solar SUV just drove across Morocco, powered only by the sun. The thing is that Morocco's very sunny. I don't know that it would work as well.
It's also really small and doesn't look like it's got enough surface area for that much solar input. I guess they could stop a lot.
Well, yeah, the trick is, how do you get an electric vehicle to run off solar? You put a tiny, tiny little battery in it, and you count on the battery constantly being charged by the sun rather than having any storage.
That doesn't seem like that would work long term.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to be able to put a gaming PC in the back of that, which ruins my plans for van life.
Yeah. I have seen, like, there are vans where they do it and they have tons of batteries. Like, they'll do a whole bench where, like, that's like, here's where I sit and I work and I eat and stuff. And then they, like, open it up and it's just batteries underneath it.
Which is way too much weight for something like that.
Yeah.
Also, that weight hurts the off-roading because you sink down into the soft muds. And if you have a more traditional electric vehicle, I hope that you don't live anywhere where there's inclement weather.
Scottish couple facing a $33,000 repair bill after driving a Tesla in heavy rain. The water got into the battery. Replacing the battery is going to cost $33,000, which is what, a third, half the cost of the car?
Is it?
That's like just buying a new car.
It's not. What does this A mean? Is that a local Scottish money? They have their own money? Surely not.
£17,000. Okay, a quarter of the price of the car.
What is the A?
It's going to be some sort of nonsense word.
Is that just a typo? Is 17,000 pounds is not 33,000 US dollars, is it?
No, because that number, it's repeated in the subheadline there. So it's definitely not a typo. I've just never seen that before.
17,000 pounds historically has been slightly more than slightly more than a pound per dollar, although with Brexit, sorry. So
they claim they did not drive through any standing water or even puddles that were that large. But the mechanic was like, yeah, it's got water in it. Tesla doesn't cover it.
The old Apple strategy. It's like, oh, these moisture sensors have gone off. And it's like, Louis Rossmann has some things to say about that.
But what he says about it and what these people say about it are not going to change Tesla's mind.
No.
Still going to pay
Just
for that.
don't drive in the rain, bro.
And they talked about the Scottish weather.
It's been raining every day.
They even look at the Scottish weather before they sold cars here because this is normal.
So remind me again what the cost of repairing water in the gas tank is. Is it like $300? It's like $300.
I think if it gets into the engine, it's going to be considerably more than that, but probably not $33,000.
Probably not.
And maybe when you're doing your holiday shopping, if you are super rich and you have a bunch of money lying around, maybe you're going to get yourself a nice virtual reality headset. Maybe get one for your kids. But keep in mind that the battery inside that headset is never coming out.
MetaQuest 3 is a virtual reality of repair insanity. Yeah, remember you have to log in to use it, so that's your first problem.
They said that you literally needed several buckets for the various screws of various sizes that you'll need to keep separated and memorize where those go when you put it back together. Sounds horrible. Although they did upgrade the handhelds, they're now AA batteries. So you can just use rechargeable AA's rather than lithium battery in those as well. And I don't know if anybody's asking for this, but this company keeps bringing weird inventions where they're actually reinventing the wheel.
Analog is making a 4K Nintendo 64, Analog 3D. Everybody's really excited by this, except Nintendo, who is probably already hiring private investigators to frame them for crimes.
And frame it will have to be because there's no emulation going on here. It's all FPGAs that they've done. Impressive.
That will not stop Nintendo. Mark my words.
Oh, they'll try.
I do love the Nintendo 64. Mario 64 is a really good game.
But you couldn't enjoy it on modern TVs because of the latency, which is why this thing needs to exist. And here's a terrifying idea because this sounds really convenient, but just keep in mind, like all they would have to do is scale this up a little bit, and you never get any choice on whether or not your iPhone gets the latest update.
Apple plans to update iPhones in store without opening boxes. So they've got a thing, you can just get the phone near another thing. The phone wakes up in the box and will wirelessly download whatever update it needs.
Yes, master.
Yeah. But also, this is really convenient for the feds to load spyware and malware on your new phone.
Yeah, it'd be so easy, right?
Yeah.
All they got to do is just go in there, have their device.
Like there's a whole thing about physical supply chain and like holographic stickers. And it's just like, oh, we don't need that. It's fine.
It's convenient.
And then Apple is like, see, this is what we told you about being able to load your own applications on the iPhone. You definitely don't need that. And it's like, well, I don't think that's going to stop Mossad.
And Netflix, when they're not buying unnecessary buildings and trying to start brick and mortar stores that are sure to fail, they're throwing money at a game company which these days just doesn't even make games anymore.
A new Grand Theft Auto could be coming to Netflix games. This is what they're doing with your increased subscription. You're going to have to vote with your wallet to stop this nonsense.
Now you might be thinking, well, I wouldn't mind playing some of those old GTA classics via Netflix in the cloud. That's not what this is. This is going to probably be a mobile GTA version.
I remember we did a story a while back where someone leaked part of GTA 6 online. So
Right.
surely they're working on it, right? Like,
Yeah, they're working on it, but I mean, it takes so long.
yeah.
So which Netflix tier do I need to buy that avoids investing in the execs' terrible ideas?
I don't think that's
That's not a thing for streaming. It's all bad executive ideas all the way down.
you need the magic hard drive for that. And it's magic over at
It's Microsoft now.
no, it's not. It's Mike the Lizard.
But we have to add Mojang into this too.
My favorite is a Word of Warcraft.
So yeah, most successful game of all time. I don't think there's any debate anymore.
Minecraft has sold over 300 million copies. The number 2 most popular game in the world ever is more than 100 million copies behind that.
I wonder if they're fudging a few numbers with Game Pass here.
They robbed me of my copy though. I didn't.
Yeah, if you don't convert your account.
I
too.
get the email and it was like, "This is the last time we're going to email you." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it in a few days." And then I did it, and it was like, "You're 1 day too late." I was like,
Wow.
"Okay."
When I was just on Game Pass and I did the thing and it was like, oh, we know who you are. Yes, we've already done this. And I was like, I don't like that.
I thought.
Wait a second.
I thought that that's what had happened to me, but that's not what happened at all.
Yeah, I had to manually move mine over.
I will, like every couple of years, I might play Minecraft for like 2 days.
I always play really hard like that. Like I'll play like a full weekend completely
Yeah.
immersed,
I'll
and
put
then I'm
time
like,
into
okay,
it.
I'm done.
Maybe it's time for that again.
Remember when owning something meant that they couldn't take it away from you after the fact?
Well, open source is maybe the solution for all this, right? Like we can have control. We can maybe find ways to fund it as a collective or whatever. But there's a dark side to open source because it's a lot more exciting to build it than it is to maintain it.
Sonatype's annual software supply chain analysis finds open source project maintenance in decline, while 1 in 8 open source downloads have a known risk. This is you got to take this with a grain of salt. But also, generally, when there's economic decline, a lot of companies that were investing with open source pull back because they're like, somebody else will maintain this. Spoiler alert, no one else is.
People need money for goods and services, and so they won't maintain it unless there's money.
Yeah, and if you work independently or you work on other stuff, it's like, I need this for my project. You gotta fund it.
Well, if you made the horrible mistake of buying a Tesla, then you know that a lot of people have been hacking those, maybe with some open source apps. But Tesla does not like that. And finally, they're giving us sort of a terrible version of it.
Tesla releases official API documentation to support third-party apps.
It's believed that the reason they finally did this is because they have made a deal with rent-a-cars, and they need a way to do the ride-sharing remote start stuff. So they're like, you know what? Give it to the plebs.
I don't even know if it's possible to do the Mazda style interact, like the Mazda story, but with a Tesla. That'd be cool if you could. I don't know if you can. I suspect you can't.
I was watching some Japanese travel videos, which I love. They now have those ride-sharing services, which all goes through the app. And those are like $5 an hour.
Wow.
And it's in 15-minute increments.
Wow.
And here's a weird one because you have 2 cloud monsters who generally are always telling you why their cloud service is the best, and suddenly they're co-joining the clouds.
Microsoft is in talks to sign Amazon as a customer in a $1 billion cloud deal, according to Insider. Well, Microsoft is a sole source when it comes to things like Exchange and Windows Server. So Amazon's got to pay for those things, right? Right?
Here's a phrase that we're going to be hearing a lot more of, and it should set your teeth on edge when you hear this, and that is social first.
Apple is approaching social on Vision Pro the way that Meta should have all along. And I read this story, and it's just going to keep me awake at night and be terrified, because it's like, this is obviously, like, as someone who doesn't like people, I don't like this.
So basically, remember when all of a sudden every website had the share button?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that, but for all of your Apple apps.
Yeah. Also, if you're just sitting next to somebody, it's like, oh, I've detected that you're sitting next to somebody. Would you like to add them to your social circle? No, I don't like anyone. I don't want anyone in my social
This was
circle.
the only chair that was available.
It's like, you're in a meeting with all these people. No, I don't want anybody to know that I know these people, because they're all awful.
Oh man, can you imagine? Like, I'm imagining some of the people we have to meet for work, and then it's like,
I'm good.
do you want them to see your Twitter account?
No.
It's like, nope.
Oh, you might not have noticed, but I just sent a request.
Yeah.
No, I noticed.
Decline.
It's literally my preference that people just like form whatever assumptions they have about me, and just, I'm good with that.
You got to turn the screen around so they can see it, and then you press decline.
My favorite ones are always like, what do you know about social media? It's like, you're right. Nothing.
Nothing,
Don't
you
worry
know.
about it. It's all good. It's like, we think people will really want this feature. And it's like, well, listen, if you're paying me to add that, sure, whatever. I don't think it's a good idea, but hey,
You're
what do I
just
know?
the web guy. You don't know anything about social media or running a successful YouTube
That
channel.
is exactly right.
Well, Meta knows a little bit about social media, and they are going to give you an exciting new feature that I'm sure that their engineers were overjoyed to build.
Meta will now let you stop Instagram from tracking you across the web. That is assuming that you have a Meta account. If you're like me and you don't, then it's still going to track you, and there's not really a way to opt out.
Now, here's my suspicion. I can't prove this, but I'm thinking that the shadow profile they use to track you, even though you don't have an account, will still be updated even for Meta users.
Yeah, that is correct.
But the main profile probably won't.
And we won't have to wait very long for a hacker or data leaker to prove that that was the case, or perhaps a lawsuit.
And how far can we go blaming social media for your terrible parenting? Apparently, a lot further than we've gone already.
The Guardian reports their kid died after buying drugs on Snapchat. Now the parents are suing. So this talks about how their otherwise pretty reasonable student, bought drugs, but it was laced with fentanyl, and they died. And so it's just like, oh, okay, that was out of left field. And it's like, were you paying attention though?
My favorite thing about this is this ad down here. Get in my belly.
Oh.
Get these pills in my belly.
This ad is so like, it looks like a street vendor for like smoothies.
I thought it was a meme. I didn't think it was real.
Like one of those chalkboards, the sandwich
Yeah.
boards they put it. Also, I love how they do the red, white, and blue menu. It's like, God bless America. Get your pills.
Well, this was in the UK though, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
I could have sworn it was the US, is it not?
Was it not?
I don't remember. It is in the Guardian.
I don't know.
Oh no, it says across the U.S. young people are dying, so maybe it was U.S. Just because it's in the Guardian, I was like, oh, this is UK.
Oh, look at all these things.
Yeah, it's just like I would like to
Do I
not.
have
If you would, you should.
yeah,
Be,
like-
it's like
Uh,
this is. Yeah, you're making me do lots of work. Like
Whack-a-mole.
Usually I just click off when I see this.
The only people that would ever agree are the people that are just like, it's too much work to click on these things. And this is a Euro News. Euro News, you should know better. This is not allowed in Europe.
I spoiled the intro for that one, so just go for it, I guess.
It scars you for life. Workers sue Meta for claiming viewing brutal videos cause psychological trauma. This is
I
a
can
recurring
believe it.
theme. We love reporting on this constantly because human beings are terrible.
The change is first they were doing it here, then they moved it to South America. I think this is in Spain.
Well,
They just keep rotating.
I don't know if this article talks about it, but the problem is that when you have EU data, the data is not supposed to leave the EU, which means you need EU workers reviewing that, which then opens up a whole other dimension of things.
Facebook
So-
trauma dumping.
Yeah.
I guess they get because of the EU rules and stuff, like you can take time off if you are mentally just, destroyed. And they have as much as 20% at any given time taking time off just because they've seen such horrors.
I believe it.
I don't know what you think you're getting into when you take that job though.
Well, even,
People who have never had the displeasure of going to 4chan before in their internet career, and they're like, "Oh, how bad could it possibly be?"
the Twitter/X algorithms now are so broken, and there's so much crazy stuff happening around the world that like just even though I only look at tech stuff, just casually scrolling through there, it's like, oh, that's obviously like something real that happened in war. I didn't need to see that.
You're going to see bombs drop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's like, why is this happening? It's like, well, we didn't have the human bandwidth for somebody to review this and being like, that you really shouldn't see this unless you really want to see this, and it's just not happening.
See, I don't know if I agree with that though, because I've been mainlining a lot.
You're doom scrolling hard right now.
And every time they go to footage, they're like, some of our viewers might need to be warned that this could be some triggering.
See, I prefer that because I don't want to see.
But it's important that by not seeing it, it continues to. It's going to perpetuate anyway, I guess. But at least I'm mad about it.
There's a lot of suffering.
You can be upset about it without needing to see the gory details.
Yeah, but it's easier to sort of like. It's like, oh, well, that's just something that's always been happening and it's normal. But then when you see it, you're like, oh.
Well, those are human beings, yeah.
My leadership is causing this. Shouldn't I be somewhat responsible? But I don't feel like I'm empowered to change it. So then I'm just sort of in a
Now
loop.
you're just upset, yeah.
Well, blockchains, they are not as popular as they once were. Remember when blockchain
That
was
was
the
the
hot
hot it
thing?
word.
And everybody jumped on the bandwagon, and apparently all those bandwagons are crashing.
Reddit is killing blockchain-based community points.
Why? Because you can't scale it. It's trash.
Reddit's killed a lot of things. Engagement challenge. How has Reddit hurt you?
Now, you will actually not be part of this. For now.
For now.
But you have said in the past you might pay $2 annually. He has slashed that cost by 50%. Can you resist if in 2024 he was like, yeah, everybody's got to do it?
X, formerly Twitter, tests charging new users $1 to tweet and retweet. So I'll blow your mind here. Here's a business opportunity for you, Mr. Elon. I don't want to see anything from people that aren't paying the dollar.
Well, they already have that. We talked about that last week, actually. Even if you're not blue checked, you can restrict your replies to be only blue checks.
Interesting.
See, I feel like blue checks usually have worse opinions, so I would want it to be the other way around. Like,
yeah, there's something wrong if you're paying $8 or $12 a month or whatever, but if it's $1 or $2 a year to weed out bots, I'm actually okay with that. I've always been okay with like the microtransaction web. I'm okay with the microtransaction web. That's fine.
Some people pointed out that many credit cards give you unlimited virtual cards. Can he stop that?
So the only people paying the dollar are
bot farms.
Are like Peter Thiel's bot farms, as opposed to
possibly.
Yeah, that's unsettling because that would definitely be a thing. There are a lot of very wealthy people that will pay to shape the opinion on Twitter, and there needs to be some kind of defense against that as well. That's just as robust.
We'll see.
This kind of thing, though. He's not wrong. This kind of $1 thing is very robust at stopping spammers, but it doesn't stop the billionaires.
But that's okay because those people are like him. And that's all right.
See, that's not though.
Free speech.
Imagine how great the world would be if everybody was like Elon Musk. Imagine how many children there would be. Well, the conflict that's going on right now has certainly, the one that came before it as well, but this one has really amped up the information war, and it's really difficult to even discuss it because it's so polarizing, and you so immediately get bombarded with, what about this? And you're like, well, is that true? And it just can't win. And some people don't care. They are going to support one side or the other because it's basically a holy war.
Deadline headline is BBC takes 6 reporters off the air amid investigation into anti-Israeli tweets. So there's something happening here with the whole like control of technology and dissent and access to information that's different than years gone by, but
it's getting better. Now, BBC does apparently have a neutrality clause. You're supposed to remain neutral on these kinds of things. I feel like I've seen plenty of BBC headlines that weren't neutral.
There's a lot of those.
That's true of any news source anymore. It's like they all have biases that are very clear.
But it seems like one bias always wins over the other one in this conflict. I won't say which. And Discord, they have suffered under the whole, like, you need to do more to control with all the evil that's going on in your platform. They got a little bit draconian there for a while. They seem to be softening that stance.
Discord is now going to give out warnings instead of permanent bans for certain kinds of things. Kind of like Twitter, where it's like, you need to go to copyright camp and then understand this. It's like, do you retract your hate speech? Okay, all right, come back into Twitter.
Also, user base, they need those numbers. And this has been so annoying all week.
I haven't had this come up yet.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
There's anti-blocker technology now that's transparently handling the thing. So somewhere that you can't see and hear, the ads are playing.
Huh. I can't remember what add-on I've done to do that, but
I'm going to have to switch from uBlock Origin, I guess.
YouTube intensifies the fight against ad blockers, showing pop-ups, and users are frustrated. Have you considered Patreon and or Floatplane
hi.
or YouTube Red even? I mean,
Don't give them more money. Give us money.
YouTube Red is surprisingly not awful, but I think a lot of creators are feeling the squeeze. So,
But as they take away, or I guess they are taking away something important from you, making your life more miserable, they're going to give you a fun new tool to use for YouTube Music, because everybody uses YouTube Music, right?
YouTube will let you search for a song by singing them into your phone. I didn't think this was actually a new thing. I've Bernstein Bears this. I thought this was like a 10-year-old feature, but apparently not.
There's another app that did this for a while.
But you had to play the actual song, right?
Yeah.
This is just you singing.
I feel like this would be we should do a video where it's just you trying to sing songs from memory and see if it can figure it out.
Or I would love to hear somebody doing like just using their voice to do orchestral music, like the Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah. I bet it could figure it out.
Think it could get that?
Yeah.
If any of us used YouTube Music, we could try it right now. And finally, this was a bit eclipsed
This is a
by
preview for Friday's nonsense, right?
well, you know,
It's funny.
with everything going on in the world, this didn't get the attention it should have, but it is fun.
The Hill's headline is that the Biden campaign has joined Trump's Truth Social platform.
And I think the quote about it was just, we just thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
We'll just leave you with that to soak it in.
I don't think that it was well received.
Well, obviously. It's still funny, though. What a troll.
I appreciate the balls of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's a bad move politically.
Fun times.
Anyway, we'll see you guys on Friday with nonsense like that. Bye.